Hi guys, my name is Josh Thorpe, and this is my kind of a lightning talk called "Think More, Not Less" with Gen AI. I am an academic advisor in Scotland, and I'm the author of this book, AI for Students, which demonstrates how to use Gen AI in ways that are interactive and supportive of learning. So this is a book for educators and for students, and it's highly illustrated comic book style book, so quite a quick read. And people are saying good things. This talk today is uh, largely kind of derived from the book, but it's meant to apply to not just educators and students, but anyone working in knowledge work, I think. So here it is. Think more, not less with Gen AI. Uh, here's the idea. Most people use Gen AI like a vending machine, right? You put in a prompt, you get an answer. But that's kind of thinking less, not more. So this talk says flip that model. Use AI to challenge yourself, not to replace yourself. This can make us kind of smarter and it's much more fun. So let's get into I'll get into the details of that after, but let's just get into a bit of framing first. So here we are in 2025. The UK is racing towards AI, and many places around the world are. It's very exciting. It's also probably quite frightening for a lot of people. I'm concerned, and I'm also excited. Um, what will the world become in 5 or 10 years, and how quickly will it change? We don't really know these things. Of course, it's very difficult to say, and I wouldn't trust anyone who thought they could. But I will propose a mindset for AI, for Gen AI, generative AI, that just keeps us thinking, keeps us human, rather than necessarily outsourcing our brains. So think more, not less with Gen AI is the pitch. We could call it human AI, maybe, or human centered AI. You could even think about AI minimalism. And this is all in the context of just this moment of frenzy around these new technologies. You know, the promises are exciting, really exciting. We have, of course, all of the big business around artificial intelligence technologies, but all of the hopeful aims for the new technologies, like better diagnoses for disease, new cures, new drugs, better service to the underserved, solutions to climate crisis, a personal tutor for every child, you know, and less mind-numbing faffing about with other people's spreadsheets too. You know, all of this is amazing, and ultimately, the vision is to live in a kind of beautiful utopia where everyone, regardless of location or identity, has health, happiness, and a meaningful life. So, if AI helps us get there, I'm all in. Problem is, we're not sure that it does. There's another side to the coin, and we should take a moment to acknowledge the concerns, the critiques that are ongoing around these technologies. So let's just acknowledge those. We have energy consumption, right? That AI consumes quite a lot of energy in data centers and will only consume more probably. Uh, there's the biases that are inherent to the training data of AI models, Gen AI models, and therefore its outputs. There's the digital divide or the attainment gap, right? Inequitable access to AI technologies. There's concerns around intellectual property and the way that humanity's creative and intellectual history has been mined and exploited by a very few companies to the enrichment of a very few individuals, right? So that we're centralizing all of that knowledge and the power of that knowledge in these few key places. And we have the very real concern from AI researchers and many within these corporations that AI could lead to radical emergencies of various kinds, including existential the existential demise of humans entirely, right? So you've heard this, right? And it's serious business. And so I take all of this very seriously. And what I propose here, it tries to balance the risks and concerns and the hopes and the dreams of these technologies. Now, regardless of the long-term possibilities, utopias, dystopias, existential threats, we have short and medium-term disruption. You know, whether or not AI is judged to be, at some point in the future, a wonderful thing or not, we now have disruption, and we're seeing that. So this disruption is quite delicate. It poses a lot of risks. It's quite chaotic, and it could impact, not just jobs and how we do things, but our psychology as a culture, or as a world, as a global culture. And here I see the humane approach, the think more approach, as being quite crucial. It could really help us make the best of this disruptive moment, but also get a better footing for the future. So, how does this all occur to me? Well, I work in higher education. Every day I see the disruption caused by AI technologies, right? Students coaching each other on how to cheat on TikTok, which is very disheartening. Rising levels of academic misconduct. We need, practically need to hire new staff to handle it all. Educators worried about their jobs, worried about students' well-being, unsure how to support them, and completely overwhelmed because they feel that the entire sector needs a reboot, is having its foundations shaken. And sort of the only outcome really ultimately seems to be we need to redesign education. Now, the silver lining there is that it needs redesigning, and we could make something better. But in the meantime, it's going to be very costly to do that, very stressful, both on the system and on individuals, educators and students. So here's me working in higher education, trying to respond in some small way to this disruptive moment. And that's where this credo comes from: think more, not less with Gen AI. This is the opposite way of our intuitions around some of these tools when we first try to use them. When people first try to use AI, they, as I mentioned, kind of treat it like a vending machine, right? Question in, answer out. Write me a sonnet, plan my vacation. Easy answers, automation. And this works great for some things. If you want to know how to make banana pancakes, it's better to ask AI than to read a 2,000-word blog from 2014. But easy answers are not what we always need, and they're not always what nourish us. Case in point, I was playing around with ChatGPT in 2023, doing exactly what most people do, asking it to do stuff. I asked the chatbot to write me a joke about chickens in the style of Jerry Seinfeld. Now, the result was okay. It was long-winded and not particularly Seinfeldian, but it made me smile, right? And I played around with it a little bit, and I learned two things. First, I needed to edit the output to make it better, so that was interesting. And second, editing the joke was the fun part. It was the interesting part. So it really wasn't a good outcome until I got involved and I got my brain involved. So that led me to an interesting flip of my attitude. So rather than asking the bot to just do stuff for me, I was asking the bot to engage me. So I flipped the equation. I said, I'll write the joke. Bot, you critique my joke. Now, did I end up becoming a genius joke writer? No. Was the critique of the large language model perfect or mind-blowing? No, it wasn't. It was okay. It was useful. It was something to go on. The key here was that I was challenging myself to use the AI and then asking the AI to further challenge me, right? So it's that interaction. So AI wasn't a content mill, it was a test audience. It wasn't pacifying me, it was provoking me. So it was not even that important, the specific outputs that I was getting. It was more the structure that I had set up. So interested in this interaction, I started to learn more about prompt design and prompt cycles. So how do the inputs that you give a large language model chatbot affect the outputs, and then the interaction that you have with the technology? I learned that I could craft very specific interactions with AI chatbots that span several prompts and several responses. And in this joke example, I basically built myself a little joke workshopping platform, right? In a very short time with very little sort of planning or know-how required, just a bit of training and thought around prompt engineering and an intention around what I wanted to get out of the technology. It was really fun. It didn't matter if the bot made mistakes or if it wasn't the most brilliant critic. As I said, the important thing was the framing that I was giving it, the interaction, setting up an environment for me to think. So using Gen AI this way, I didn't even need to be engaged with the technology for long. I didn't need to be sitting on the computer all day. I could go walk the dog and still be thinking about the little interaction that I had, and or have a conversation with my partner about it. So I'm thinking about joke structure, rhythms, the musicality of telling jokes, and all these sorts of things that I had never really thought about before. So this is a method that's quite far removed from the vending machine type model. You're thinking more, not less, with Gen AI. And that's the ethos that inspired the book, AI for Students. It really demonstrates how in learning we can use a bit of prompt design and intentions to set up these interactive experiences. And these types of experiences can help people learn more quickly, get past certain learning difficulties. And I've been hearing from students that it makes learning more fun, right? Which is actually a really important thing to do today, is to make working with the materials that you're trying to become more expert with an enjoyable process. And as I said, using this method, you don't have to be glued to the screen for hours a day. You know, it's best if you don't. The minimal approach is one answer to concerns about over-reliance on chatbots, on losing our critical thinking faculties, and of course on energy consumption. Don't use AI a lot, just use it a little. So using an approach like this, a humane approach, a think more approach, we get to hang on to our creativity, hang on to our criticality, and hang on to authorship, right? Things that are so easy to let go of with these technologies. So in this crazy moment, this increasing disruption, we can give ourselves a bit of a foothold, right? Hang on to our humanity. Language is crucial to human culture and to human cognition, to our psychology. So let's hang on to it a little bit. So we can then think of Gen AI as an environment to work in, but the thinking is what makes us human. So this is obviously not an accelerationist approach to AI, and neither is it a highly skeptical approach. It's more of a balanced approach that tries to hold both criticality and curiosity in equal regard, so that we can, sort of use that quite interesting complexity to make a space to work within. And I think this can work for students. It can work for educators. Indeed, it can work for anyone working in knowledge work who wants to dip their toes in to the new technologies, become quickly literate without getting totally swept away. So that's my pitch. Think more, not less, with Gen AI, and see how that works for you and for the sort of the environment that you're working in. If this has been useful to you, please consider checking out AI for Students. Recommend it to colleagues or perhaps to your institution or your business. And if you'd like to get in touch to collaborate, work with me, I would love that. You could even ask me about my joke about chickens. I'd be happy to share that with you. So drop me a line. I'm at joshthorpe.com. Thanks, guys.